After a total of 4 plays, the same Jets fans who greeted Aaron Rodgers' arrival in New York with a shout when he sprinted onto the field on Monday evening were silent. In the game against the Buffalo Bills on Monday night, Rodgers suffered an injury that would end his season. He tore the Achilles tendon on his left foot. The expression on the face of New York head coach Robert Saleh as he considered the possibility of Zach Wilson taking over once again as quarterback says it all.
All right, Zach. Ooh, he got stepped on. You see that? Yep. His fucking foot.
The happiness and excitement that I had been feeling over the last 6 months vanished in a few short minutes. No part of this video will be fun for New York Jets fans to see, but the repercussions will be felt across the NFL. The most painful question is, what will the Jets do now? Let's get that off the table first. We watched a version of this club with Wilson, and a terrific defense failed to come close to fighting for a postseason slot last season when it required 5 wins against backup quarterbacks to make it to 7-10. Despite having Wilson and a great defense, this squad could not come close to competing for a playoff berth. The Jets can't expect to compete with the Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, and other elite teams in the AFC through a whole season and into a playoff run unless there is spectacular growth from Wilson as the season goes along that we didn't witness Monday night, or the advent of a solution that completely surprises everyone. Remember that all of the worries that some of us had about this squad while Rodgers was playing now apply to Wilson in the starting lineup. The defense had the fewest injuries of any unit in football the previous year, which is an anomaly that is very unlikely to be repeated. Both the offensive line and coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, provide significant challenges for the team. According to ESPN's Football Power Index, the New York Jets have one of the most difficult schedules in the league overall, and one of the most difficult opening schedules. Last season, the Jets were able to force 16 takeaways, which placed them 29th in the league and looked completely out of character given everything else they could achieve. In the game against Buffalo, we saw them force 4 turnovers out of Josh Allen, and if they want to make the playoffs in the AFC, their defense will probably need to produce takeaways at a rate that ranks in the top 10 in the league. The offense will need contributions from other squad members to score touchdowns, similar to what the Jets did in Week 1 when Xavier Gipson took a punt return to the house in overtime to clinch the thrilling win.
Thank you, God. Baby Jesus. Yes! Fucking yeah. What was that? Was that the rookie? That was Gibson.
The one thing that did go well for the Jets on Monday's offense might be the deciding factor in whether or not they win this game. Breece Hall, a talented second-year running back, returned from a damaged anterior cruciate ligament in his right knee and showed little symptoms of wear and tear from the injury. Hall began the game with a run that covered 26 yards, added a rush that covered 83 yards in the second quarter, and concluded the game with 10 runs that covered 127 yards. Even though he only participated in 17 offensive plays, his performance must be considered a positive indicator of where he stands after his recovery from injury. Because Hall was out for most of the 2016 campaign, the Jets will have to place their faith in the possibility that Hall's return can assist the squad in becoming a more run-oriented unit. Dalvin Cook's first game in New York was rather uneventful, but the fact that the Giants have 2 running backs capable of starting might be a gift in disguise. It is now the responsibility of Hackett, who was brought to the Jets following a dismal season in Denver as part of Gangrene's effort to entice Rodgers to construct that run game and a strong secondary play-action passing offense. Should the Jets have worried more about Rodgers' catastrophic injury? A rupture of the Achilles tendon is a very rare event. The field was soaked when the injury occurred because of the constant rainfall in the New York region in the hours leading up to the game. It has been noticed that injuries to the Achilles tendon occur more often on turf than on natural grass. Yet, we do not believe that anybody could have anticipated that Aaron Rodgers would suffer a season-ending injury before the conclusion of his first quarter in New York. On the other hand, the thought that Rodgers is more prone to injury as a quarterback getting closer to 40 years old is only logical, given his age. Brady was fortunate to avoid injury throughout his career. Still, he is the exception in every scenario. Peyton Manning had a tear in his right quadriceps in 2014 and a tear in the plantar fascia in his left foot in 2015. These injuries occurred in the seasons in which he was 38 and 39 years old, respectively. In the season in which he turned 40 years old, Aaron Donald's helmet caused Drew Brees to injure his right thumb. The next year, Brees struggled with a ruptured rotator cuff. fractured ribs, a collapsed lung, and his own damaged plantar fascia. Even the legendary toughness of Brett Favre wasn't enough to prevent him from tearing his right biceps during his season with the Jets when the quarterback was 39 years old. Then he had to deal with major foot and shoulder problems during his season with the Vikings when he was 41 years old. It was obviously stupid to expect that a healthy 17-game season was the most probable outcome for Rodgers, but it was hard to foresee that he would miss the whole season. The Jets can't depend on having him at 100% or close to it for the full season in 2024. Therefore, they can't bank on him being healthy for the entire year. Next year, many factors that gave fans reason to be optimistic about the Jets in 2023 will be present again. Cook, Lawson, Brown, and safety Jordan Whitehead are among the key free agents they have this offseason, but the nucleus of players who were supposed to contend for a championship around Rodgers should all be back. While further work must be done on the offensive line, the vast bulk of the defensive unit will likely remain together. Will Aaron Rodgers still be a quarterback capable of leading his team to a championship at that point? It is not feasible to determine.
To be out on a quick game.
Last year, when he played for the Packers, he did not perform well, partly because he played despite an injury to his right thumb. After that, on the very first drive of the season, when he was 39 years old, he ruptured his Achilles tendon. The track record of healthy quarterbacks playing at a Super Bowl level as they reach the age of 40 is not exactly impressive, much alone the track record of quarterbacks coming off of major injuries. Rodgers will use the next year to rehab and get back into football shape for the 2024 season. Still, his recent level of play, the effects of the injury, and the typical aging curve for even the best quarterbacks suggest that he is likely to be something closer to the 2022 version of Rodgers than the back-to-back MVP of 2020 and 2021 versions of Rodgers. And that wraps things up. We appreciate you watching this video. Please hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.